hit somebody or get hit. That's the truth.
This is Ken Arcega. Welcome to the Manceptional podcast. Today will be a lot of fun. We are going to be speaking with Shihan Tom Callahan. He is the representative for the U.S. for Kyokushin-Kan Karate. For those not familiar with karate or this style of karate, it's a very hard style. There's some videos you can find of Shihan busting bats with his shins and that type of thing. But there's a lot more to it than that, but it's pretty cool. There are so many different styles. We'll ask Shihan Tom for a little bit of guidance on navigating all that. But it's great to have you. Tom, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate it. Nice to be on your program. Congratulations on it. Yeah,
thank you. So, I was trying to think of what would be a cool way to start this. And, I looked at your videos and the like, and I rewatched Hero and All of Us. For the listeners, you can look it up on YouTube. It's a short 6 or 7 minute documentary on Kyokushin-Kan and Shihan Tom Callahan. And I had already seen this, but if it's okay with you, I want to read the first comments that you made in there. And I know you were referring to fighting. But it really, I know this is manceptional, so you have to be manly, but it really hit me emotionally because it was actually, I read it as dealing with me and my stage in life right now. I'm trying to change tracks and, so anyway, I'm getting emotional now.
I can't crazy. Remember what I said, so go ahead, please.
I'm going to read it to you right now.
Okay.
So it starts out, it says, your body obviously gives out first, and then you have your mind. And your mind is kind of strong, but then your mind ultimately will give out. And then you only have one thing left. You have to go very deep into your spirit. And when you're in that area is when you start learning about yourself, who you really are.
Yeah.
So you were referring to fighting. Obviously, it's hard, and I've been in deep water doing my stuff, but
and it's not necessarily dealing with fighting. That's the beauty of that. And I have mentioned this, and I've said, maybe not said it exactly that way before, but the essence of saying that is it's a metaphor for life. It really, truly is. And I think that's why maybe it hits you in a certain way, because when you say it's about fighting, you're probably right. In that particular dialogue, it probably was about fighting, but it is a metaphor for life, because you need to go through really hard times and really struggle to understand who you are. And we in Kyokushin Karate and any other physical activity that's really, really demanding, you overcome these incredible challenges. And when you're in that spot of overcoming the challenges, you get to learn about yourself. And that's when, in Kyokushin, what it means, Kyokushin means the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth to me is knowing yourself. And so to know yourself, we go through this really challenging physical demands. And, and it's like I said, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for life, to overcome the challenges that we encounter on a daily basis,
Yeah. And, you kind of almost answered one of the questions that people always wonder about karate, because it always looks like it's always presented as spiritual and it helps you with life. But there's never, I shouldn't say never, but the connection isn't often made. You kind of see that, and then you see the fighting.
Well, that's an interesting point you bring up too, because to talk about karate in contemporary terms versus the truth of karate, and there's one word that you may have heard of, and I'm sure you have heard of it. Maybe your audience hasn't. It's called Budo.
Budo, way, or something, the way.
Well, it's the warrior way, but it comes from Bushido, which is the code of ethics and all that stuff. But Budo is more of is training for a way of life. It's not a sport. So Kyokushin Karate, at least my approach to teaching and approach to it is not a sport. It is a way of life. So if you approach it with that intent, then you train with a different mindset, and you also understand that it is, in fact, a metaphor. The residual effect of training hard is, of course, self-defense and being strong and being able to fight and yada, 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 all those things, which is a residual benefit of the intense training. But ultimately, it's about character development, and it's training with the Budo mindset. And a lot of times in the contemporary karate, it's lacking the Budo. And it's just a sport, and they're going to win trophies and win, lose.
It's like the Cobra Kai and Karate Kid, right?
Yes, there shouldn't be any winning or losing. We have tournaments, of course, too, because you want to test your courage, you want to test your strength, you want to test some of your technique. But the truth is, if you're training properly, there's most of the things you train in you can't use in a tournament because it's not legal, because you're training for the street and life or death, so to speak, without being melodramatic about it. But so I think a lot of the contemporary martial arts in general, not just karate, is lacking the Budo aspect of it, which is the internal training, the spiritual training, the understanding of the essence of the training. And it's more of a superficial training to me. There's benefits to it. I understand why a lot of people do it, but it's unfortunate when I see a lot of dojos and various arts, and they're just hitting the heavy bag or just working on the fighting technique, and they're lacking a lot of other things. And most importantly, they're lacking the intent of the training. And I'm not saying everyone. I'm just saying I see that it's more prevalent now in the contemporary arts. And I blame. I don't know. I don't really blame anyone. I blame really society's obsession with winning and trophies, and that's all based in ego. And the whole idea of karate is to actually minimize and ultimately, rid yourself of your ego, which is not an easy.
Is that really the beginning? Because I always hear, or was there in the beginning. I always hear it was used to hide for farmers to hide the fact that they were actually training in a martial training. They had to hide that from the government or someone that came and captured them. I'll give you pretending to do a little dance.
Yeah, the brief history, if you're talking about kata, of course, but in weapons training as well. The birthplace of karate as we know it was Okinawa. Okinawa, with the Ryukyu Islands, did a lot of trading with China. So China had kung fu and all the Chinese arts. So the Okinawans adopted a lot of that because they were doing a lot of trading with China. Well, when Japan conquered Okinawa, they took all the weapons. They didn't allow. They took the weapons away from the Okinawans. They took everything away. They did not allow them to practice their martial arts. So, to answer your question, what they did is they trained and they invented kata, which are the forms to practice. Looks like a dance, but it's deadly. And they're working with and visualizing and working with multiple opponents. Then they also picked up their farming implements, the sai, the bow, the nunchucks, all these weapons.
Which are weapons.
All these weapons were farming implement tools. And they started using them as weapons to defend themselves against the Japanese imperialism and things. And then, of course, when that stopped, it was brought over to the mainland in Japan, and Shotokan was formed in Funakoshi and those kinds of things. But that's kind of the really Reader's Digest version of it.
Maybe because I took, just like probably everybody takes a little karate. There's a karate school. I was living in San Francisco at the time, and in my building, it was an old Sears building, and I had a loft. There was some karate. So I walked down the hall, and it was Gojo Ryu, which was from Okinawa. So I had like 3 months, and all I did was a couple of katas, and then they left, and that was all I ever did until
Goju Ryu is a great style. I started in Uechi Ryu, which is the sister style of Goju Ryu, Okinawan as well. And 1972 when I started training, and so those are all the Okinawan Ryus. The Ryu just means the style. So that all started in Okinawa. All back then, everything was full contact. Now, Kyokushin is full contact, and we brought back full contact back in the 60s. But most of the styles are a point system. And but as you know,
so when in the point system, that's not full. You're not hitting hard.
No, they're wearing pads and they're not hitting hard. They're touching, or it's the judges are looking if what the intent of the strike was, which to us, our teacher, Sosai Masoyama, would say he didn't believe there's no truth without real fighting, without real contact. You don't know, because to be able to hit somebody or get hit, that's the truth. You know,
I got to say it's true. So for the audience, I recently started doing Krav Maga. I started at age 51, kind of super late. But the first time you get kicked,
yeah,
and the first time you get punched,
in full contact style, you wake up.
Very surprising, and it's I'm getting used to it now. It's very. We can talk. I'd like to talk later about the connection between my Sensei Roy and you, and I noticed when you guys spar and how we spar, some of it's the same. Yeah. But the Kyokushin guys are just tough as nails.
Kyokushin. Kyokushin, yeah.
Kyokushin. Okay. What was I saying?
Kyokushin, something.
Kyokushin. Okay, Kyokushin. Oh yeah, Kyokushin. Kyokushin. Okay, apologize for that.
No problem. Just
Kyokushin.
But so we practice full contact, and we feel like that's the way to really experience the truth and training. So, and I don't like to use the word fighting necessarily, but I guess it is fighting. But there's so many more elements to what we do. As you know, we do Taiki Iken training, which is almost like a Qigong meditation. We do fluid movement. We also do a lot of kata. We use weapons. We do sparring, of course, fighting. So it's a full spectrum of what we train in, and the Kihon, which is Kihon means basics. We train basics over and over and over thousands and thousands of times because repetition is the key to success and perfection. The whole idea is perfection. In the metaphor we were talking about earlier, perfection of technique, but also as a metaphor for life, perfection of character. That's what we're trying to get to. That's why the kata is so important, because we want to perfect it as best as possible. And by doing so, you're really present when you're training. And by being present when you're training, it teaches you to be present in life, and to perfect yourself in life. When you go to work, or your family, or whatever, you're always striving for perfection. You never get there, but it's the striving for the perfection, which is the important note.
Do you think somebody that would go into a dojo, do you think that point gets across?
Not right away. You know me a little bit, so you know that I interview my potential students. I don't want people coming in there for the wrong reasons. Now, that said, there are people that come in for the wrong reasons, but there's something about them that I want to be able to help them overcome their incorrect thinking. So they might come in, they just want to fight, and then of course you ask them why. What's the purpose? The fighting is a residual benefit of the training. But no, you're right. They don't know that right away unless they've had some prior background. They've done some reading. Some people come in, they understand Budo. And in many cases, people come to me because they want what I teach because they can't find it in a lot of places. So I really want to maintain that legacy as best I can.
Okay. Yeah. That's fantastic. So, what we're interested here at Manceptional is the journey. And I understand you're from Boston. I'd be curious how, I know you did various martial arts training and then through college and the like. How, at what point did you see that what you were doing there might be something you'd actually do with your life? And I know you have the whole other music side, which I want to talk about too. I'm just curious. I look at my life and I was interested in a bunch of different things, but I don't feel I got right on my track that I should be on. I didn't get on that right away, and I'm trying to find it now, a little after the fact. So how was your journey?
Well, you're a product of your experiences. You're a product of your environment. So the fact that you say that you're trying to get on the track now, you have been on a track your whole life.
Yeah, I guess.
So everyone's track is different, and I still, seriously, I'm not joking when I say this, I still say to myself, and I'm 56, I'm older than you. And
not by much.
Yeah, okay. Okay, you're holding
2 years. I'm only 2 years behind you.
I still sort of kind of feel like I don't know what I want to do when I grow up either. I mean, when I say that, what I mean
is thank God. I'm just glad to hear someone say it at least. Okay.
I still want to do a lot of different things in my life, and to go back to your actual question, when did I decide? I don't know if I ever made a conscious decision, because I realize what I teach is not necessarily a moneymaker.
Right.
I'm not Taekwondo. People don't pay for belts kind of things.
Right.
I don't run my schools as a business. Maybe I should, maybe I know people that do, but it's because of my style is sort of unique and difficult for a lot of people to commit to, because it's very physically demanding, as you know, that in the West, especially out here in the States, it's just very difficult. And it's just difficult to make a living. The way people can make a living doing this is to jump in with both feet and actually start teaching the kids and have a bunch of kids classes, which I think is fabulous because, you start with the kids and you get them young and you help mold them and develop the character, which is great.
Yeah.
But it also requires a huge sacrifice and a commitment and investment and all that stuff. And because I had, a lot of bills and family and all that, then I was making a living in the music business, that I never quite made that crossover. I'm actually sort of doing it now. I'm writing a book. I moved to Boulder, Colorado, from LA. I kind of got into the music business. I'm kind of, I got my foot in it still, but I'm trying to actually figure it out, to be honest with you, because I'm chairman of the United States now in our organization. We have 23 schools. And so my kind of role is to grow the organization in the United States. And I go and I do seminars around the country, and we do a couple of tournaments here and there. And I'm also international secretary. We have 180 schools around the world.
Oh, wow.
So I'm kind of taking on that role a little bit, which I really, really enjoy. And so that kind of doesn't prevent me necessarily, but it makes it more difficult for me to actually open a full-time kids school and everything. I teach adults still, and I've got students, but it's small. But I like the smallness in a lot of ways because I really get to focus on my students and the quality of the students and really give them the knowledge I want to impart. And it's easier for them to absorb because it's not 30 people in the class, and I can really give my heart to my students.
So it's interesting. Since I last met you, which was maybe a year or two ago, I can't recall, with Shihan Judd. Yep. I'm teaching the kids class at REKM. My daughter's in twice a week. I teach that 25, 30 kids. Oh my God. It is. And I literally just passed the instructor course at Sensei Roy gave. So I'm teaching some level 1 twice a week. And this is all new to me. Yep. But you're right, with a small number of people and you're teaching them, and to see them actually do what you just taught and they get it. Yeah. It's, it's not something I think I'm going to make money off of. I'm not a personal trainer.
How old are the kids you're teaching?
Oh my God. The kids, it's from age 4 to about 10 or 11. So I've got different level kids.
It's difficult from that age because around 7 on is when they start having the coordination and they have a little more ability to sit still and focus. The younger ones are difficult. Maybe you want to break that class up a little bit if possible. But the kids, I love kids and I love teaching kids as well. I don't do it full time, as I said, but yeah, you're right. When I see the kids' light bulb go off, or you see them demonstrating respect or sitting quietly and not fidgeting and then being more respectful to their parents, and
right,
that's what you want, because it starts at that age,
Yeah. It's a pretty awesome experience.
Yeah.
So back to when you were, we know what you're doing now, and we'll talk how you got here, but back to the beginning, when you were doing your various martial arts when you were a kid, and then in college, I think you said you had a club or something.
Yeah, we set a club. It was very informal, but.
Yeah. So you were just doing that just because you enjoyed martial arts. It wasn't any particular.
Well, I grew up, I took a lot of time off when I was a touring musician, and then I was in the music business. But I started when I was really young and fell in love with it when I was young. And then my daughter started, so I messed around with that. And then I was in college and I did that. And then I didn't start again to the mid '90s, and seriously.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I started seriously in the mid '90s again, like all consuming, and to the extent that it actually hurt my personal business, but I was willing to sacrifice that. And I remember telling my students, I have told my students a number of occasions that you do need to sacrifice for your art, and you've heard that phrase before, but it's really true, whether it's financially, whether it's time wise. I remember missing lots of business meetings because I wanted to train, and I had to make that judgment call. Sometimes it was the wrong call. Sometimes it was it didn't matter, but sometimes it was the wrong call.
Right.
But, Everybody talks about balance. I have some, some personal feelings about balance in life, and I get that question a lot. Oh, Shihan, how do you? I want to balance things out better. How do I balance my life? Well, life ebbs and flows, and sometimes you are out of balance, and that's okay because it's necessary to be out of balance sometimes.
Right.
If you're studying for your major exam in school, or you're studying for, or you're doing extra work because you're studying for your black belt test, or you're training for 3 months for a tournament or something.
Yeah, you have to give up other stuff. You're out of balance.
So you're not in balance. Yeah. So you have to prioritize what's important at any given time, and in those times you will be out of balance, and that's okay. But then you've got to get back in balance.
Right.
But life ebbs and flows, so you're in and out of balance constantly. So when people say, "Oh, I'm out of balance," you have to then reflect on why you're out of balance, and is it worth it being out of balance at any given time? We all want to have a balanced life. We all want to have a work, family, training. We all, traveling, downtime. It should be balanced in some form or fashion, but there's definitely going to be times where you're out of balance when you're trying to do something extraordinary.
Right.
Anyone that's done anything extraordinary or great in life has given up a lot to get there.
And usually people don't understand it, right? You always have naysayers, or what's this guy doing? They're crazy, or they're wasting their time, or how many other things can. In the Philippines, they call that. I spent some time there. They call that the crab mentality, where everyone's in the bucket and someone's trying to crawl out of the bucket, and all the crabs grab them and
back down. Yeah,
pull them right back down.
Yeah. That's because it takes unique individuals to do great stuff, and the people that do extraordinary things, they're not affected as much by the naysayers, as you say, and they're not affected by the fear. And the fear is what holds people back mostly. We all have it. I have it too. But that's what we're always trying to overcome. And that's what I try to teach as well, is the overcoming the fear, not necessarily physical fear, but fear in life. Everything can be scary. Starting a new job is scary. Moving to a new town is scary. Fighting 20 guys for your black belt test is scary. 30 guys, whatever you guys, it's all scary. So, we gotta, when I talk about balance more, I don't talk about balancing doing things. I talk more about balancing the heart and the head. That's what needs to be balanced more.
Right.
We need to communicate with ourselves more, and you can eliminate a lot of fear that way.
So, sticking on the karate side of things, did you have any? It doesn't sound like you had like pure aha moment where all of a sudden you knew. You kind of, it's been in your life the whole time, and ebbing and flowing, and then you just kind of came in and out of it, and it kind of became a big part of your life. So it wasn't like you woke up one morning and you thought, aha.
It wasn't an aha moment for sure, but I mean, my wife will tell you that, okay, I want to get my black belt. We all want to get our black belt, and that requires incredible, especially in Kyokushin, focus and determination and pain that you have to go through. And then I was going to get ready for my second degree black belt. Okay, I'm not going to test after my second degree. That's all I'm going to do, because then I'll still train, but I'm not going to go through all this again. Then I said my fourth degree. so the aha moments with me were like actually getting promoted again. And then in this past year, I was appointed Shihan by our boss in Japan, which to me was a big.
And congratulate! I meant to congratulate you. It was kind of implied, but because I knew you as sensei, it's now it's Shihan. Wow,
it was a big honor for me, and it was unexpected. And so those kind of moments keep me going. Not keep me going for that reason, but they are aha moments. Like, wow, I never really thought I would be here. I think anyone you can talk to in any walk of life that gets to a certain pinnacle. They really look back and go, wow, how did I get here? I don't really, just time flies. And if you just stay kind of put your head down and just keep doing, you all of a sudden you're where you are. And, I know people that are brown belt, yellow belts, green belts, and they go, oh, I'll never reach black belt. I said, well, that really shouldn't be necessarily the goal. The goal should be just continuing to love it and continue to train. You will look back and go, wow, time flies. I started training 5 years ago. Now I'm a black belt.
I have to say you're right. I remember when I first started at REKM, Sensei Roy would ask us, so what are your goals? And I remember just being like, I want to get back in shape and learn how to fight. And, you kind of stick it out after a while. You kind of find you start moving up. Now I'm teaching people things.
Yep.
And
you never thought that would be part of it, right?
No, not at all.
Honestly, me either.
Yeah.
I got back into it because my daughter was 4 years old and started training Taekwondo, and then ran into Kyokushin school, and that and I said, I wanted to get back into it for a long time, and that's kind of how it started for me.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would be here. I never thought I'd be chairman of the United States for my organization. I was like just in awe of my teachers and in awe of other karateka that were higher ranked, and I had such respect for them, which I still do, of course. But so it's you look back on the path you take, and I think you really just have to love what you're doing. You have to really love it. You really have to love it. I'm
going to write that down as tip number one.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to enjoy it because, and like anything else, even when you love something, there are going to be times where you hate it. There are times where you don't want to train. I'm just using training as the example.
Sure.
I loved my last job, but there were days I didn't want to go into the office, but I loved the job. But but then you do it, and then you grow little by little. The days that you don't want to train, you've heard this probably, pardon me. The days you don't want to train are the days you definitely want to train.
You have to go.
You have to train. And in your heart that my knees bother me, it's raining, it's cold, I went out too late last night, I had too many beer, or whatever. I was like, get in there. And you will thank yourself, and that's when you really grow, incrementally grow.
Right.
And that's what differentiates the extraordinary person and the average person. And I always talk to my students about no one wants to be average. You don't want to be average. Who wants to be average?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone wants to be average. The problem with people in our society these days, a lot of people, is that they don't want to put the effort in. They're afraid of work. They have that fear, or they're lazy, or they just either that, or they don't want to do it because they don't believe in themselves. So there's a lack of confidence as well. Now, where that comes from each individual, who knows?
But that's also in the culture. If they have lack of confidence, which everybody goes through that, but today's culture is pretty bad. I mean, people are expected that just, it starts in school. You show up, you get a trophy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's
stuff should just be kind of given to you just for being there.
Yeah.
Right. And it's why do I have to work for that? Just give it to me.
And I think one of the reasons that when I go to, Russia, Bulgaria, we see the Eastern Europeans in Kyokushin, again, I'm talking about just my particular style. These guys are just so dedicated and so hard, and their life is more hard than ours here.
Yeah.
Difficult when I say hard. So they become harder as a person, and they're dedicated because they know that this is what they need to do, and then no one's going to give them anything. That's kind of maybe a less than obvious analogy, but I've just said I've noticed that personally, and as I travel around the world and I see who's really dedicated, who's not, and I come back to the United States. And
especially California, I mean, where you just work.
And I'm generalizing. There's some great dedicated athletes. I'm not suggesting there's not. Of course there are. But I think to use the general terms, we're a little soft here.
Yeah. So to take this theme you're talking about, where you work, you show up, do you have any daily routines? I've just restarted some daily routines myself. Daily routines that you go through, whether it be physical, like kata or breathing, or other meditation, or anything you do in general that would apply to life or training.
Well, my wife's more dedicated than I am with the meditation. She's meditating every day. I try to get a meditation every day, but I'm not a stereotypical meditator. I don't sit with my legs crossed and my hands in the lotus position. Right. I do standing meditation. Zazen it's called. It's part of
Iken?
IKKEN, Iken training. It's a standing forms I do, but what it does with the standing is it regulates your breathing, because there's certain breathing techniques involved. Okay. And what it does is it clears your mind, but most importantly, what I think it does for me personally is that, it allows me to get more positive. I think my biggest issue that I wrestle with personally is staying positive and being light rather than dark. I can have a tendency, I can have a tendency to go more dark, in a more of a depressed kind of thing. I can go there, and I fight that sometimes, and I get out of that by this weekend training, breathing, obviously training every day. That helps. If I didn't train every day, I'd probably be a mental case,
Put the energy somewhere positive.
One of the things I really try to do, and is, I know this sounds kind of like bullshit, but it's not. I mean, I really try to serve other people as much as I can.
Yeah.
And even if I don't every day, my heart's thinking that way. And if I try to help people, I think of other people as much as possible. That helps me. And it helps me feel fortunate.
I mean, I think that's a good, every day I try to remember that and try to think about it too. It does feel good to help other people. But there's also a lot of, I follow a lot of business, entrepreneurs, and, it's also a basic economic or financial fact of being successful with a business or what have you, because the more people that you serve and the more people that you help, the more valuable your business is, and you get compensated in return. So it works on many levels. Yeah.
I mean, when people talk to me about karma, which you're kind of alluding to, karma is a funny thing with me. I don't, a lot of people may not agree with me when I say this, but I never do anything for karmic reasons. I don't believe you should do anything for karmic reasons. You should do it for the right reasons. Not the reason.
So not thinking you're getting an outcome like, I'm going to do this because then it's going to come back to me.
Well, that's what a lot of people think. That's how a lot of people think about karma. Well, I'm going to do this because I'm creating good karma, so things are going to be good for me. Well, that's not the reason you should do it.
You're already off track.
You're right. It should be 100% altruistic, and it should come genuinely from the heart. And just doing that, I mean, it's been proven scientifically with the brain, the serotonin in the brain, by helping others and giving of yourself to others. It doesn't have to be financial, just your time or your whatever. It releases, it's even much more, it's stronger than any kind of serotonin that's released by a drug or anything else. And we need to do more about it.
By serving other people?
So we need to do more of it as a society. And I think people feel better about themselves. Then you can start seeing the benefits of it through your work and your economic things, because you'll be working with a different intent, with a different happiness. Right. And that's what makes you successful. Working with joy, right?
Right.
So you have to have joy first before you're successful.
Yeah. Well, I like that. Okay. Tip number 3: joy first. No, I know you're not laying it out like that.
Yeah, I'm not preaching that way, but I mean, this is based on my own personal experience and what I've gone through, ups and downs I've gone through. We all go through ups and downs, and I find myself successful when I'm happy first.
Right.
It's not the other way around. The money doesn't make you happy. The work can make you happy despite the money. It depends what you're doing, or just working for free. If you're going out raking the neighbor's yard, the grass, the lawn, or helping someone move the couch, that kind of stuff will make you happy and make you a better person. And then you're going to work more effectively in other areas of your life. And you're going to have more of a light about you.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've been in high tech sales for 15 years or so, and a year and a half ago I left that world. I was with one of the number one companies in the world.
Wow.
And it was a great job, a great spot, and I just kind of had a midlife crisis. But I kind of realized I've been trying to do stuff to make money online and this and that. I realized if I'm not interested in something, money cannot compensate me for it. Like, I just don't have the interest. I'm trying to find, something, the joy part.
Yeah. Well, there's certain realities of life. We all have to make money.
Sure.
There are people that are exact opposite of you and I, that you and me, that will work just for money because they want the rewards of that, whether it's the car or the houses, and they want the materialistic rewards of that. And that seems to make them happy. Are they truly happy, or are they just superficially happy? I don't know. I can't answer that question. Obviously.
Yeah.
So I personally can't do that. I don't think you can do that.
No.
But we have, there's certain realities. We have to make a living as well. So that's when you asked me before, what I said before is I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. But, I still have to make money. I don't have to make as much as I used to make, because I've downsized and all that. But, I still got to make a living, but I don't want to compromise at this age, at our age. I don't want to compromise my integrity just to make the money these days. Which, I may have.
That's where I got to. Yeah. All right. So there's two things. I want to talk about the music track, but I had a quick question regarding the I'm sorry, I'm pronouncing it wrong. Iken or
Iken.
Yeah, Iken.
The I in Japanese is pronounced E.
Iken.
Yes.
It was another quote that I saw that caught me, and it was from Kancho Rayama, saying that in a sense, real karate training doesn't even begin until you're age 50. Now, funny enough, obviously, these things are hitting me because of the age thing, but it was just saying basically, if your body does kind of go down. I'm not 30 anymore. So you have to, there's more than just muscling it out with your opponent. Youth and raw muscle. There's more of a understanding and a connection where the power comes from and all that. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, you're getting a lot of it right. What he meant by that, and of course it applies to me, and because as I said, I'm pushing 57, but
You're in great shape, by the way. Thank you. I like to see that.
It's the intent and approach of your training. It's the way you train. Because what you just said is accurate. The younger guys, they go in there and just bang, and they hit hard, and they just go like I liken it to two rams head to head, with the rams with their horns banging each other, but it's not a lot of finesse. There's not a lot of understanding of where the power comes, or the movement, or the fluidity, or the recognizing the opening, and then attack.
They can cover with raw bulk and power.
Right. Yeah. And there's when you fight, there's a whole mental aspect to it. And most people, when they're younger, they go in there very aggressive. And part of the aggression is based in fear, of course, because they want to fight faster and harder than the other guy because they're afraid of getting hit. So what I teach them, as much as I can, is patience when you fight. You've seen me fight, so I try to fight very patient, relaxed, and let the other guy get all excited and get all. Yeah,
you're very relaxed and calm.
Yeah, and I that happens to work for me. And when I train my students that actually are competitors, I really try to drill it into them, and because you can fight offensively and defensively. And when you're in defensive mode, you still should be in control. And when you're in defensive mode, primarily you should be patient and relaxed and patient and taking your time. And that's what I think Kancho Rayama was talking about in the essence at training at 50, that you're smarter.
Okay.
You're smarter, and you should be able to look at your opponent and assess your opponent a little more adeptly, because you have a lot more experience just in life. And when you're 50 years old and you're looking at someone, you can assess that person probably a lot better than you could when you were 20.
Sure.
Looking at the person, the way they breathe, the way they move, the way they talk, the way their body language, because we have experience. And I think a lot of that has to do with what Kancho was saying about karate starts at 50.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
It is great. It gives us hope, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's like I'm saying, these things are kind of connecting with me all of a sudden. I wonder why, but it's still nice to think that you can still be growing. And I guess it gets to the quote that I started this whole thing with, where it's your spirit, and then you learn about yourself, and
and not to go back. I mean, but I just want to say a couple of words about Kancho Rayama, because he is my teacher, and the reason I'm with this organization, I have been for the last 11 years now, is because he understands that. He's unique in that regard. He gets the big picture, and he's really kind, and he is not one of those teachers that you see sometimes, especially in hardcore styles like Kyokushin, where they're yelling and they're mean, they don't smile, don't look at you.
Right.
I've been with those teachers too. Concho,
he looks at, well, I don't know him well, but I saw his video where he's kicking 2 baseball bats.
Yeah, no, he's crazy.
And I'm thinking, holy crap.
He's an unbelievable. He's an unbelievable martial artist and obviously world recognized as one of the greatest teachers in Kyokushin, if not the best teacher in Kyokushin. But he's also a nice guy, and he takes everyone as an individual. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, but he also understands the bigger picture of karate, like we talked about earlier. It's not about just fighting. It's a lot more about that. It's about character development and perfection of character. Right. That's the ultimate truth.
Well, I love that. But you said it's not just about fighting, but what do you think about, let's take, not the point fighting, but let's take UFC. There are some high profile fighters in the UFC that I like George St. Pierre, right?
And what was his background? Do you know?
Well, he's Kyokushin. Yeah, funny. And he's one of the only guys that actually comes in wearing a gi and the whole 9 yards.
Lyoto and
Machida. I mean, he's
you notice something different about the karate guys in the UFC. They don't act.
And Wonder Boy's karate too.
Yeah, and they act with respect.
Yes.
They're not jumping up and down when they win. Do you know in Kyokushin tournaments, if you raise your arms after victory, you're disqualified.
Really? Oh, because it's an ego type of. Okay.
Exactly. You can't raise your arms. You can't jump up and down and celebrate. So when you see Lyoto and you see GSP and some of these other guys that come from a serious karate background, you can see the respect in and outside the ring. And then you see people that aren't serious karate guys, and I don't want to mention any names, but you know who I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's several of them in their mouth, and they're not. There's kids watching these things. You're trying to inspire, and but. I don't know. Even
that's what I like about GSP.
He even says he doesn't like to fight.
Yeah.
He did it for a living. But nothing wrong with liking to fight. People do like that challenge. There's nothing wrong with that. But they see the big picture as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think times are changing. I think people like Joe Rogan who get it as well. He's helping, I think, and Bas Rutten and those guys are starting.
Oh, I love those. One of those guys, I want to have them on my podcast.
And Bas, as well. Bas was a Kyokushin guy, and Dolph Lundgren, of course.
Yes, I met there. I didn't know Bas was.
Yeah, he was Kyokushin as well. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So these guys understand Budo. It comes back to Budo, and I'm my hope is that a lot of these young people coming up that want to do MMA and UFC, I think it's great as long as this is my personal opinion, as long as they come in with a good Budo spirit, and then they can fight hard, they can train, they can make tons of money. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. How you behave, I think. And I think they do have a responsibility. I really do. And you hear some people like, I don't owe anybody anything. I don't have a responsibility. But if there were a Budo artist, they would feel the sense of responsibility because the kids are watching, and the whole idea is to bring the next generation up with respect.
Right. And when you do anything like this, it doesn't even have to, you don't even have to be a public figure, but basically anything you do, you live your life the way other people are watching. So you whether you like it or not, people are looking at you
in a certain respectful way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, anyway, so we all have our opinions about that, and I'm not trying to preach about it. That's my own personal opinion.
Sure. Okay, so switching tracks, I wanted to talk to you about your music career. Mm-hmm. I know your story. Basically, you came to Hollywood and or musician of some sort, and then had a record label. So I had my own story. After college, I came down and I was trying to be a pop star, and I actually have an album on iTunes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. Yeah. But I went to Asia. I couldn't get a record deal here. I went to Asia to try to get a record deal there and come back and try to concoct all these things. It didn't work out. But it's not about me. It's about
me either. I came out of a musician as well, and I did tour and everything. But the major record deal always eluded me. Came close many times, and then I met my wife and just thought, I want to have a normal life now. I was only young when I stopped playing. But I started really young, so I stopped playing around 25 years old. but I ended up getting in the record business, as you know, and I had a very good career for 30 years. And the last thing I did was working with a startup that called Song Trader, which was a licensing company. And so I left that a year ago after 2 years and 3 months or something after starting it. And now I'm in Boulder, and I'm kind of consulting for a couple of companies and doing some mentoring for a couple of companies, and then just teaching and training. And that's kind of where I'm at now. And if something makes sense to me that I want to help a company out, then I'll take it.
Yeah.
In terms of music, I managed artists. I was a record promoter. I owned a couple of independent little labels with partners over the years, and worked with some big artists, from Lenny Kravitz to Paula Abdul to, a lot of big ones. And
oh wow, cool! No, I didn't know that.
Oh, major from everybody. Sting. I mean, I worked with a lot of the big ones.
Wow.
And it was, it was very good to me. The music business was really, really good to me. And then, of course, it changed, and the internet came in, and Napster came in, and lots of things changed.
Yeah. What do you think about music today, Tom?
Well, I mean, what did my dad think about our music? I mean, it's like every generation.
Is that the same analogy?
I mean, well, it's about how we consume music now, which has changed dramatically. We consume music in a radically different way, and
sure.
And artists make a lot less money now due to that fact. And record promotion, which was sort of my bag for about 15 years, is radically different. And so the whole paradigm of the music business, marketing, promotion, and distribution is
distributions.
So what I ended up trying to do is reinvent myself and to go more in the digital age and learn about technology a little bit more, which I did. I'm certainly not an expert, but I can move. I know my way around the digital world now, in the tech world, and I'm able to kind of marry a little bit of the music in the digital and tech world now. So I'm not totally out of the loop. A lot of my contemporaries were unable to do that, or unwilling to do it, I should say, in a lot of ways. They were plenty smart. They just chose it as aged. They either retired, they went into real estate, or they did something else totally different. But I couldn't let music go. Every time I got to walk away from it, it would, like that movie, it pulled me back in.
Pulled you right back.
But there's always something interesting, because I do love artists. I do have a passion for music, and I do have a passion for working with artists and again, helping where I can. I think it's just in my DNA. Teaching, managing, things like that is just in my DNA.
Got it.
Yeah. And it's not the same. It's certainly not as fun as it used to be. And it's certainly not as lucrative as it used to be either. But I'm still hanging in there here and there.
I think these days you have to, if I understand, you really have to do it by touring. That's where the money's made. You got to go out there. That's the money,
Well, the touring, yeah, but if you're not a well-known artist, it's hard to put people in the seat to come see you if they don't know who you are. So the money really is made in licensing, in composing, writing.
Or writing. That's
movie, TV, film, commercials. I mean, that can get a little bit contrived.
Right.
If you're doing it just for TV or film. But yeah, it's a combination. It's very difficult to make a living as a musician these days. That's the truth. I mean, black and white, it's really difficult to make a living.
Yeah.
So anyway, but the passion for these artists is still there, and they're still doing it. And sometimes I'll help them if I can,
Got it. Okay. I had some questions on how are you doing on time? We're about an hour in.
I'm sitting upstairs in my loft.
Relaxing.
My dojo dog, Bella. Bella the dojo dog.
Yeah, I saw.
He's always here with me.
Great. I heard in other interview you had about like a hip. You were having a hip or knee problem, and then you were saying that Judd had both his hips replaced.
No, well, actually, Judd had one of his hips replaced. Dolph had both of his hips replaced.
My God.
And they're both kicking amazing. I mean, my hip, I got real scared about 6-8 months ago. It was bothering me for about 3 or 4 months straight. And what it was is I was overstretching.
Overstretching, not over. Overstretching.
because I was going through this really growth period in my training. Believe it or not, at my age, you still go through your growth trainings. And I was real serious about the training and doing doubles and, training twice a day, and then really overstretching my hips, because my hips historically have always been very tight.
Yeah, me too.
My side hips have been really, really bad. It's the way my hips are. I'm just small boned. And so I said, okay, I'm going to really keep stretching. I really want to get these full splits. And doing that, and then I was doing lots of kicks as well. And then I remember New Year's Day, I always do 1,000 kicks, 1,000 punches. And
nice.
After that, I was already sore, and I just really overdid it. And so instead of resting it, which I should have done, I kept saying, okay, I'm going to keep stretching it, stretch through the pain. And it was the wrong thing to do. But now I'm fine.
Oh, that's great.
And a lot of it had to do, believe it or not, with my lower back, because I wasn't strengthening my lower back enough, because your psoas muscles comes through your lower back around the front of your hip.
Right.
It's really important, who's ever listening out there, if you have hip issues, a lot of it may have to do with your psoas muscles and your weakening of the lower back. So
how do you, so as I understand that if something's off, your body will compensate with something else that's maybe not made to carry that load. How do you strengthen that lower back?
Well, you do over those, the machine where you overhang and lift your back up, or you can do it on the floor where you look up towards the ceiling and just stretch your lower back. I do a lot of that now. I use the big ball, that rubber ball. I lay over that. I do ab work on that. So you have to strengthen your abs as well. And I still stretch, but I'm not ripping my tendons and ligaments,
Right.
And I just at my age too, I just try not to overdo it, especially with the roundhouse kicks, the Mawashi-gitties, because that will really take its toll.
Do you mean the high ones, the head kicks?
Well, the high Jodan Mawashi-gitties, yeah. And this is why a lot of the Kyokushin guys who are known for their roundhouse kicks, a lot of them, they end up having hip issues. Wow. So now I'll do a lot of the lower kicks, of course, but I'm not kicking high anymore. There's no need for it, and I just sort of stopped kicking high.
Wow, that's one challenge I have, just because I'm not limber, and we have some head kicks, so I am not there yet with those.
I can still do the head kicks, but I just do it very limited, and I stay to the torso and the legs, and hamstrings are fine. I can still touch my toes, no problem. I put my palms on the floor, but sideways, not good.
Yeah. Do you take any supplements at all? You mentioned collagen or something.
I don't take collagen. I do take some collagen now. My wife has it, and I've been taking that lately. I thought you were going to say chondroitin, and no. I do take some collagen. I take some vegan protein. I take.
Are you vegan?
No, I'm not. But I take the vegan plant protein. I take apple cider vinegar in the morning. That really helps with the inflammation. I'm in Boulder, Colorado, so I take CBD supplements for inflammation as well. Okay. So I'm a big believer in getting all the inflammation out of your system.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, to keep your gut healthy with probiotic, and you need the inflammation out of your muscle tissues. So if you can do those two things, I feel really strong still. I feel very fast. I'm hiking, I'm running, I'm doing wind sprints still. I'm sparring. And I think a lot of it has to do with my gut being healthy and the inflammation out of my system. And I try not to take any of the NSAIDs like the Advils and ibuprofen, which I used to take a lot of.
Bad for your liver.
I pretty much eliminated that. If I'm really bad, which I haven't been, I'll probably take a couple of Advil, but I haven't done that in a while.
Right.
I'm not perfect. I try. I try to just not eat so much meat. I eat a little meat. I eat mostly chicken and fish, and I have a little red meat here and there. I'd like to eliminate that at some point, but I haven't been able to do that yet.
Is that because you think vegan would be healthier, or
it's pure? Every scientist will tell you the red meat is just too hard on your stomach to digest. It's just not healthy. It's much healthier not to eat that stuff. But
what about the I don't know if it's the keto. I do kind of a keto thing, but red meat is part of red meat, and high in fat is part of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different diets out there. I found the healthiest people, the vegans are not the healthiest people in my opinion.
No, every time I meet a vegan, they look very sick to me, and
Yeah,
they
they do.
smell like
Yeah, I think
almonds or something.
you need certain proteins, but I don't think you necessarily have to get it out of animal protein. And that said, I do know a couple of huge bodybuilders, and I do know a couple of boxers that are vegan. And I'm trying to read what they're eating and exactly how they're eating.
Yeah.
There are people that eat one meal a day, and they're huge. So, and they take supplements and things like that. But now, who knows what's going to happen in the years from now when they say, "Oh, those supplements are really bad for you."
Right.
It's a trial and error thing. But the most important thing is to educate yourself. There's a lot of information out there, and you have to do what's best for you. Everyone's body reacts differently. Our blood types are different. Our constitution is different. Our our body, our DNA is different. Our ethnicity is different. So
right. A lot of factors.
Yeah, a lot of factors. So you have to I know how I feel if I eat a certain way. I know if I eat too many carbs, I don't feel so good. But I crave carbs, so I eat a little bit of them, and I eat the proper kind, complex carbohydrates, for example.
Which would be what? What's like vegetables? You mean in vegetables?
Well, vegetables, you can get a lot of great carbs from vegetables, of course. My wife makes quinoa, or she'll make really. Different kind of grains that are healthy and things like that. So, you got to be careful. You got to be careful what kind of fish you eat. Are you going to eat Atlantic salmon, which is horrible for you? You're going to eat, you got to be careful what kind of food you eat.
Well, the farmed fish, you have all the chemicals leached into the farm pond. And
you got to be careful these days. I mean, but you have to do your own research and then do what's best for you.
How do we all survive, huh?
Your body's an amazing machine, and it does adapt. Your body.
What I've been doing for I would say, I don't know if it's 4 years, but over 3 years, I've been doing the bulletproof coffee.
Karen does it every morning. My wife.
Every morning.
He does it every morning with the fat, the butter, and the organic butter.
Exactly
she got it in Venice, the bulletproof thing in Venice on Main Street there.
Yeah, it just opened up. Yeah, I'm hoping one day I'd love to have Dave Asprey on. I follow him on Instagram. Yeah, sometimes
I think my wife does as well, but she does the bulletproof. I tried it for a while, and I just didn't feel so good. I probably didn't do it long enough.
I love it.
The fact that you're on it too now, maybe I'll go back and try it.
It's literally been, I would say, the only time I would miss is if I'm traveling. Yeah. Otherwise, every single day. Every single day. It's a nice smooth energy.
Yep.
And maybe I start eating at about 1 or 2.
My stomach a little bit, so maybe I didn't let it, because when you go through a transition with the food, your stomach has to adapt for a week or so.
You also have to make sure you have good coffee. I do buy his coffee. I'm sure there's other coffee that doesn't have mold in it, or I don't know if that's real or not. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, maybe give it a try. I mean, your wife's doing it, so just.
Yeah, no, I'll try it again. He's inspired me. Yeah. I got something from this interview. See,
there you go. Hey, that's one thing I could talk about Dave Asprey. Okay. So, kind of wrapping things up a little bit, would you say this is either it's a simple question, but it either could be really hard or really easy. Would you say your choices to this point, and maybe what you're doing now and trying to find, would you say they have made you happy?
Well, that's you make choices.
If that's possible.
I am happy, first of all, but not without ebbs and flows, as we mentioned earlier. I mean, I don't know anyone who's happy 100% of the time. Yeah. But how you deal with the downs, that makes you who you are, and how you get back to being happy. I might go 2-3 days of not being happy, and then you got to get out of that funk. We all go. Yeah. So we make choices all our lives, but if you're asking, do I have any regrets? I don't have any regrets. Would I have made choices differently in the past? Well, probably. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but who knows what those choices would have led to? And I'm happy now. So the ultimate answer is probably not. I mean, I can see, if I just said that or just did that and made that choice, I could have this or have done that. But I don't know that, do I? I don't know that.
You can't really, the thing is, you can't really go back. I mean, you're right. You're right here now.
What's the point of going back?
You can't. There's no point.
I do have a tendency sometimes to live in the past. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I go back and go, wow, that was great. Or I had this and I had that. Or if I just did this and that, then I realize I go snap back to reality and I say, wait. I'm guessing that if I made that choice, that XYZ would have happened. But I have no idea if XYZ would have happened if I made that other choice. So here I am now. I'm a product of my experience. I'm a product of my choices thus far. And I'll have a shitload more choices going forward. And you just got to live with your choices and own them and make the best of it. You got to make the best of it. Life is hard.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. So, you can't be too hard on yourself. You can't get too down. And you have to have a good support system. My wife supports me, and I have students that support me, and I have friends that support me, and my family. So, you need a good support system that believes in you and has confidence in you, even when you don't have confidence in yourself. And
tip number 4: support system. No, that's great though. It's true.
You have to cultivate that as well, and I think we have to appreciate and be grateful for our friends and family that do support us, and don't take that for granted,
Yeah, that's great. So speaking of, just as an aside, I spent a lot of my life living in the future, meaning when this happens, when I have this, when I have that. But that when never comes unless you do something now.
It's planning.
Kind of obvious. You need a little planning, right?
You need to live in the present and plan for the future.
Exactly.
And then when you plan, you have to reflect on the past, because you're planning. If you don't want to make the same mistakes twice, and you're also a product of your experience. So when you plan, you have to kind of reflect on all your experiences and your skill sets and how that's going to come into play on your planning. But you should always be living in the present as much as possible, with one foot in the future.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good way to put it. So future goals. Obviously, you had mentioned with Kyokushin and in growing the organization. Now you're secretary worldwide, and then head of US. Is that your major focus for your goals, or what are kind of your future goals you're looking at now?
Those aren't paying jobs.
It's not paying. Yeah.
It's not paying, but I really, really love it, and I enjoy it, and I love the interaction with the worldwide organization. I get to, because I still learn from lots of other people, and I'm also, the thing I love about it mostly is that I'm dealing with people all over the world, so I get to understand and appreciate other people's cultures, which eliminates all kinds of bias and any kind of prejudice that we might harbor. That's totally eliminated because you realize that we're all the same.
Right.
And so I think that's a huge thing for me that I really love about it, is that I get to experience other cultures in such an intimate way. And when I say intimate, I mean when you're sparring with someone, or you're fighting someone, or you're in their home. That's intimate. You cannot. This is why when we fight, you get to know your opponent, and that's why. That's really the truth, right?
Yeah.
In terms of what I want to do in the future, I mean, someday, I'm writing a book. I'd like to do some.
Oh, the book.
I like to. There's lots of things I like to do, but sometimes I have, just like everyone else, has the fear about jumping with both feet in certain things and making choices, and doing things without fear. So I'm still dealing with those issues myself, just like we all are. And so I try to plod along every day, try to do something every day for myself that's going to have any progress toward those goals.
Move forward, even just one step at a time.
Yeah, they're always baby steps. I mean, you might get a giant step in there occasionally, but really, this is why when you look back years, like, wow, those were a lot of baby steps, but here I am.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay.
And anyone can do that.
Yeah. One step at a time, right? Yeah. The bad tendency is to want to get it all done in a week.
It sounds cliche to say that, because we've all heard that before, but it's really the truth. Sometimes cliches, there's a reason they're cliches, because they've been said and done a lot, you know, and they work. And so, it is little, if you get up and do something every day for yourself, whether it's, okay, I've got to do my push-ups today, or I've got to eat healthy today, or I've got to, when you're looking for a job, you've got to make those extra phone calls today. You've got to do it.
Right.
You just have to do it.
Yeah. That's just reality.
Self-discipline.
Yeah. Self-discipline. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So to summarize your tips that you didn't know you were giving for our listeners, the first tip you had, and correct me if I got these wrong, the first tip was to find something that you're passionate about and that you love, right? Second one is, which is a good one, is to keep in mind to serve other people. So instead of thinking about what you're going to get out of it, just, it's just one way, serve other people.
We need to be I think we need to be a little more altruistic in our behavior.
Right. Okay. And then I wrote down joy first, then success. What does that mean again exactly? Like, how do you get...
it's difficult to be successful if you're not happy.
Right. Okay.
You have to approach your work, whatever it is, with joy. Then you're going to do a better job, thus being successful.
That makes sense. And then tip number 4, support system. You got people around you that support you. If everyone's trying to drag you back into the bottom of the barrel, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, the majority might want to drag you back into the barrel, but the ones that really care for you and love you are the ones that are going to be propping you up and giving you the ladder.
Yeah. And you find out those people pretty fast when, You
know what? And there may not be a lot of them. It doesn't matter how many. It could be 1, it could be 10.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Awesome. So I looked up your, for people that want to look you up, there was the hero video that you can see. Hero and All of Us. That's on YouTube.
That's from Jet Li's thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That was a nice little piece. But you have something on Facebook. You have another site. Like, where would be a main place for people to follow you? And how would someone get involved?
Way did a nice little podcast. The Marshall Way.
Marshall Way.
I'll give a shout out to Scott Heaney, that's his podcast.
I actually listened to that podcast. So yeah,
a little long.
Good.
To find me, I guess, World Budo Arts is what my schools are, World Budo Arts. And you can find that online or in Facebook or Instagram, World Budo Arts, or Tom Callahan on Instagram. I appreciate it, man. It's always fun to connect with new people and inspire as best you can,
Yeah, this is awesome. This has been really fun.
I appreciate it, Ken. And I really been following you as well. So I've been following your Instagram and your Facebook, and you've had huge growth over the last couple of years, the Krav and Sensei Roy. And
we didn't even talk about that, but
so,
we'll do another one perhaps. But I actually going on Instagram was actually part of me just. I became a hermit a little bit. Like, I got to get out there. I didn't really want social media because I'm kind of private. But I thought, you know what? I'm just going to throw it out there, and I'm doing these exercise things, and I did little challenges: 10,000 kicks, 10,000 punches, and it was just to get out there. I mean, I didn't.
That's good. Really... And if you're, this is what we're talking about: inspiring other people and giving back and all that kind of stuff. And you're doing that, so you're leading by example. Most important.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah, I appreciate that. So, well, this has been fantastic. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll be in touch. Sorry, I can't make it to your. Tell everyone about your event.
I'm just doing in Santa Monica on Saturday, April 28th, 2:30 to 4:30. I'll be conducting a Kyokushin martial arts seminar for 2 hours, and you don't have to be Kyokushin to come, but at 2202 Pico, World Budo Arts. April 28th, 2:30 to 4:30.
And so people don't get scared thinking that they're going to have to be, kicking baseball bats. What will you be doing there?
Well, there will be a lot of Kyokushin guys there. So we'll be doing a lot of basics and a lot of punching and kicking. And there will be sparring at the end that if you're not used to it, you don't have to participate in that aspect of it. That'll be towards the end of the day. But I'll be talking about philosophy. We'll be doing Iken training. We'll be doing lots of self-defense stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to look more into the Iken. I really it sounds very interesting to me.
Good. That'll help you. Okay. So I appreciate it once again, and the best of luck to you. And hopefully, I'll see you next time I'm in LA.
Fantastic. Thank you, Shihan Tom Callahan.
Thanks,
Tom. Take care.
Now.
Bye.